The following vodcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this vodcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
We are back, so we think returns for a special little month-long season for the Brisbane Winter Carnival. Ben Way, one of our favourite times of year. And it's good to be back here chatting racing and all of the issues both on and off the track.
If you're in broadcasting and racing, which we both have the luxury of being, this is one of the best times of year because people give you the best interviews, the best answers pre and post race, I think. They just relax that little bit and you just get that little bit more. The emotions run wild and the celebrations ramp up. And we're going to have somebody on the show who is not quite but almost top of the mountain when it comes to the celebrations.
On his day,
yeah.
I think he is an A-grade 10 out of 10 performer in that field.
So too his accomplice, who we'll ask him about.
That's right. Your thoughts so far on what we've seen? So we had the running of the 10,000 on the weekend and some other stakes races as well. The 10,000 taken out by Sunshine in Paris. The Archibald team are flying at the moment.
They fly in Queensland every year.
I feel like more so than ever at the moment.
Okay. All right. You Marion and Huetor, they're angry at you. But yeah, they are having a hot run, no doubt. And they've been having a hot run across the board, not necessarily just in Queensland. Sunshine in Paris, really deserving of the win. Beautiful steer, popped out at the right time, went bang. She's always wanted those big races. It's just been luck and barriers that have cruelled her along the way, and injury. You know, she was on the precipice of, she might have won an Everest, if not for a slight hiccup there close to start time. But well done to Rob and Annabelle. Huge thrill. And I loved seeing his celebrations there. The emotions run wild. He's a pretty level guy.
Yeah.
But it got the better of him on Saturday.
And as we edge into this weekend, there's a few other things at play because there's some records up for grabs in the next couple of weeks that would be historical. So you look at Blake Shin, he rides Antino. We're going to touch a lot on Antino in the next little while. He's looking for an unprecedented fourth Doomben Cup, the most winningest jockey ever in that race, having won it last year again on Bois d'Argent. And it's a race that means a lot to Blake. He won it on board Streamer only a couple of weeks after losing Guy Walter, who was a great mentor of his 11 years ago. Chris Waller is looking to break his own all-time Group 1 record for the amount in a season. And James McDonald, he sits on 14 Australasian Group 1s for the season, looking to go to 15, which would be a new personal best for him, and quickly chasing down Miracle Mal for 16 in a season.
And suddenly that target that he's got to be the
129 or the 130, yeah.
The GOAT he's chasing it down quickly.
Did you see our graphic on the weekend?
I didn't see yours specifically, so I apologise, but I know that his kind of looks like this. Is it it's an amazing picture?
We've got a ticker now on 7, right. And it's called Countdown to the GOAT.
This reeks of Bruce. Is it his doing?
And James is on the coverage at the end of Saturday, you know, taking a look at the drone shot of the Doom and Death. What is
the countdown to the GOAT?
What's that?
Hey, how does that go? You just take us inside Channel 7 very briefly. Like, does Bruce hop on the phone to, say, the EP of racing or whoever and just go, I've got a graphics idea?
100%.
And then do they then relay that to the graphics team and go,
do it quick.
So
it's for the king.
Yeah. And before you say, no way, it's for Bruce, and they just know that they have to.
I'm pretty sure, and rightfully so because he is the king. Yeah. But he is cheering for that milestone to eventuate quickly.
It is a real luxury to sit there and watch him on a Saturday as he preempts and then revels post-race in either whether it did happen or didn't happen with these records. And watching him, remember last year, James was chasing down a particular record, 100.
Was it
100
leading
one?
in the Cox Plate, yeah.
Well, James was obviously bitterly upset when he wasn't winning.
Yeah, it was about a 3-week period there where things weren't going his way.
Board sighting was one, and he missed out.
Yeah, the Caulfield Guineas. And then there was...
his horse was scratched on the morning of
the Good Filly.
The flight.
Autumn Glow.
Yeah. So all of this stuff was happening. No person in Australia was more deflated than Bruce over that window. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, it did.
Happened in the Cox Plate,
Yeah.
3P.
Yeah.
Let's just put that to bed. But amazing that we're counting down to another record. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. And it's going to happen within the next 12 months.
Barring circumstance, which we certainly don't hope, he will blast away every record we've ever had. So, it's exciting, though, to be able to preempt that and see these things on our horizon. I'm looking forward to the races on Saturday. We've got good racing in Sydney and across Australia as well, so a lot to look forward to.
Coming up on the show, we're going to talk to Tony Gollan very shortly. We've had some interesting bits pop into the mailbag. Real deal or no deal is the subject line. We'll get into that, which horse we're talking about there. I'll leave you on the edge of your seats.
We don't need to recap, but I do want to give you plaudits. The last show of last season after the autumn, you said this might be the last time we see broadsiding. Now, you do have a lot of, you have some dinners and stuff with James, and you said he hasn't mentioned a word.
No.
He hasn't mentioned a word.
I was just trying to read the tea
You
leaves.
just read the tea leaves. Well done to
We're
you.
looking forward to seeing what he can do on the roster.
You also looked ahead to the Stratty. You said this market is a dog's breakfast. Steffi Magnetica heads the market.
Tim Ryan's having a connip.
No, he's on holidays. Stuff it. We can say what we want about him. You said Steffi's there as fave and is in the paddock. Steffi was in the paddock. Not there for a Stratty. So goodbye, you.
Try my best.
2 from 2.
Also got a top 5 coming up that you're going to want to hear, because I've had a little squiz at how you're working it. It's a goodie and topical at the moment.
Thank you. I feel it is. Yep. One for the bucket list dreamers.
It is Queensland Carnival time, which means we need a big King Queensland guest, so to speak, to really get us in the mood for the Doomben Cup on the weekend. And Tony Gollan's got to be that man, because he's got the superstar in Antino. And I'm now starting to lean into that superstar camp with this guy. He's already won the Toorak Handicap. He's winning the Hollandale, was unreal a couple of weeks ago. And I think he can beat Pride of Jenni on the weekend. Welcome, Tone. How are you feeling at the moment?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Weather's beautiful up here at the moment. Blue skies, warm days. Where else would you rather be?
Well, I wouldn't say here, where it's quite dreary and cold at the moment. It is probably one of my most favourite times of year to head up to Queensland, and I know a lot of people in the Sydney ranks certainly feel that way, that they get to go up, and it feels like a holiday, albeit a working holiday. Em just touched on Antino, a stable star, no doubt, but where do you kind of see your galloper pegged at this stage of its career?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I thought last spring he probably established himself that he could be a weight for age horse, even though he won a handicap in the Toorak. He probably showed Champions Day that he was up there with the best of them. It was just a matter of giving him enough reps from the Hong Kong experiment to showcase those talents this year. And look, so far in the Hollandale, he was brilliant, and hopefully we'll see him just as good, if not better, on Saturday.
Remember when we were slagging that race with no horses in it? And it was like Mr. B and Jenni and Antino, and
We had no idea.
no idea.
Hey, just flashing back to the Toorak, I want to know what was going through your mind when Blake Shin's at the back, or semi-back, he's settled back on the field on Antino, and like the mid-race move, are you going... And we saw it again in the Holland. Like, that's almost become his signature piece of riding on this horse. What was your thought initially during the Toorak? You going, oh my God, what are you doing? Or you go, this is genius. This is unbelievable.
No. Yeah, no, I was going, well done, because we wanted to be closer. Obviously, if you remember Caulfield on the day, it was quite firm. It was very hard to make up ground. And when we jumped and we were back, I remember saying to Bailey, note if his travelling boy looks after him, I said, we're stuffed here. This is no good. And then when he took off, he started to get nervous and I started to get happy. I knew what sort of engine this horse has under him. And I've always been confident he could sustain a long run. I've seen him do it in lower grade races here in Brisbane. And it was just a matter of time when someone was going to do something like that on him. And when they did, I was very confident he would respond.
I do think that's one thing the Sydney jockey ranks has missed since Blake left, whether it be overseas.
The element of surprise.
That element of surprise.
Yeah.
And I don't know that trainers necessarily, that one's worked well, but is it fair to say you don't typically like an element of surprise from jockeys when it comes to trainers? I feel as though you like something that's just, following a particular pattern, maybe instruction.
I don't like surprises in life in general, to be perfectly honest. I hate surprise parties even. I think they're dog crap myself. But I I like that surprise with him. I think you just ride horses to their strengths, and you got to ride horses to how the race presents and how things unfold. Most mid-race moves are, rubbish. They don't work. But Blake sort of had the confidence in this horse. Some time with him. He's a horse I believe that can sustain a longer run than most others, and I was just pleased that he gave him the opportunity to do so.
Okay, so the weekend, let's touch on it. He's drawn the outside, which I actually think is not a bad gate for him. I think he's probably better drawing outside, and we saw how that track played last weekend. I think we're still going to probably be off the fence when it comes to Saturday at Doomben. And Pride of Jenni's drawn the inside. We know where she'll be. We know where she's going. Like, are we anticipating him to settle midfield and try and tack onto the back of her with 800 to go? I mean, don't give away your tactics entirely, but are you scheming something up with Blake to get the job done?
I don't know about scheming, but it depends how he steps. He's just such a tardy bugger out the gates. He puts himself into an awful spot. The wide draw, I agree. It's definitely into his hands. He hates being hampered back in on the fence and restricted room. He's a very quirky horse, and he doesn't like a bit of galloping room and to get away from kickback and things in his face, which there will be because that track will be deteriorated from last week. I don't know when Blake will make his move, really. I don't. I think it'll depend on how the race unfolds. You know that she's going to go out and she's going to break the field up and try and do it mid-race. Whether we start making our move at the same time or whether he waits, I think he'll just be guided by what he sees unfolds in front of him.
There was a little while there, probably 6 months, where everyone was just scared of Jenni. But do you get the impression that now, not necessarily that there are chinks in the armour, but there's a vulnerability there that wasn't there maybe this time last year?
Oh, look, maybe so. But look, I think you just respect her as a good racehorse that she is. And we know that if she turns up in her best form, that she's definitely going to be quite hard to beat. She's an elite galloper, as we all know. Doom in the track should really suit her, being a speed track around over 2,000 metres. So she does tick a lot of boxes. She's not dominant like she was. That doesn't mean she couldn't find that form Saturday.
The most interesting thing about this, though, and we head into Origin next Wednesday, the first of the 3 State of Origin games. It's state versus state, mate versus mate. And in a way, that's what this Doomben Cup presents us with on Saturday, because you and Kieran Ma are like thick as thieves. You have this brotherly love going on. When you travel down to Sydney, you stable the horses with him, vice versa. I wouldn't be surprised if Pride of Jenni and Antino aren't too far away.
That's how excited she is.
Aren't too far away from each other in the same yard there in Queensland today. Like, how do you deal?
They could see each other. He's just behind me, actually, Antino. He's just back here behind me, and she's just over the way over there. So they probably could spot each other if she put her head out and he's got his out. So they are close enough to each other.
How do you deal with having that relationship, though, with Kieran? Like, you're such great mates, but do you try and separate the fact that you are the fiercest of competitors on Saturday, maybe more than ever before?
Yeah, I just think, well, for me, if I don't win the race, I certainly hope he does. So, he's a great guy. He's a magnificent trainer, and he's a good mate. So, like I said, I'm sure he feels probably the same way. I mean, we both want to win. There's no doubt. But certainly, if I don't, I hope he does.
And the other part to that is that these guys, after the end of the carnival, like, you like to let your hair down in a similar vein. Like, and we'll give him the opportunity to do this at some point in time, Tony. But I know you love him and you respect him. But is there something like some dirt or just a little bit of shade you'd like to throw at him as we enter into this State of Origin type clash on Saturday?
Look, we both like a good time. There's no doubt. We both tend to not know when to discontinue that good time, which is probably a problem for both of us at times. And without elaborating too much, he does like to do some outrageous things at the end of a good night.
So part of it, the dark part of you wants him to win, and yet the majority of you, I'm sure, wants you to win. Hey, we talked a little bit about your stable start, but it is a growing stable, a big stable, and it's been a remarkably successful period for you up in Queensland. We're reaching a pretty strange time in racing where these stables, the giant stables, are growing and growing and growing. And Kieran is certainly probably the biggest beast alongside Chris Waller. How big do you see your stable getting? And a follow-up to that, Godolphin's now sort of changed their strategy. There were rumours around many a moon ago, which I asked you about, one-on-one last year, about you potentially taking over Godolphin at one point. Would you have any interest in taking on some Godolphin gallopers in a freelance capacity, perhaps?
I'd love to train for Godolphin in any capacity. To be honest, I think they breed amazing horses. Got a great business. I'd love to be involved, and I haven't had a phone call yet. But if they're watching, I'd love one, and I'll certainly make room. Our stables is quite big up here, and I've got no interest at this stage of expanding interstate. We got stables at the Gold Coast and Brisbane now, so we're very firmly domiciled here in Queensland. We want to be a strong force here for years to come. But yeah, I'd love to take on any of the Godolphin horses that want to find their way to Queensland. They'd look really good in my stable.
Just call them, mate. Don't wait for the call. You got to get on the front foot and call them.
Yeah, good point. Actually, it's a very good point.
He's got enough on his plate. Hey, you mentioned Goldie and Gatton are on tomorrow. I just thought I'd jump in quickly and see whether there was anything that I should be on.
Sneaky?
A little sneaky at Gatton or Gold Coast?
Well, the track's going to be tricky at the Goldie, isn't it, again, Tony? But it's a good card down there on Friday night.
Will be. Yeah, it is. Will be a bit tricky. It'll still chop up. It's rated soft, but I mean, it's unrateable at the moment, unfortunately. It just rips to shreds. I think Miss Highfalutin blinkers on first time. She can run really well. And there's affiliate at Gatton blinkers on first time, Tipsy Tiger. Both can run well. Both run well on, tough sort of races and days, really. I think we'll keep most of our powder dry for Saturday.
And load up on the big fella?
But he's my best chance all weekend. I've got no doubt he's in great shape. He's as good as I can have him. And hopefully that's good enough to get the job done.
Mate, it's a fascinating contest that will unfold on Saturday afternoon. I look forward to seeing you there, Antino there, and the battle between particularly Antino and Pride of Jenni. But then, just hold off till you get up to your hijinks with Kieran until Stradbroke Day.
I look forward to reading about that in the Courier Mail in the days subsequent to it.
Oh, if either of us win the Doomben Cup, I don't think we'll wait till Stradbroke Day just quietly.
No, that's fair enough.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
Tony Gollan there, of course, saddling up Antino in that Doomben Cup. And I have, as you have, played witness to the brotherly love.
Yes. And nothing he says can do it justice, and nothing he says should be said on this show or any other show about it. Hey, this isn't the sort of forum to go through his runners in terms of going through them with him. Yep. We've got other shows that can do that. But for him to say that Antino is his best across the weekend, when you have a look at some of his other chances, he's got Sicilian and Brereton early on, Natsuno, Kinkappa, Cannonball, Terabella, Freedom Rally. I mean, there are good horses everywhere. You look, Rock Ribbed. So, yeah, I did like the push at Gatton and Goldie, though.
Yeah, Gollan and Gatton and Goldie.
They all pay the same.
They do. They do indeed. So let's have a quick preview of the Doomben Cup. Your bold headline prediction out of this. Does Pride of Jenni reclaim her crown as the most watchable and most popular horse in Australia with another Group 1 victory? Or does Antino cement himself as a weight for age heavyweight, I guess, as we head into the spring of 2025?
I just don't trust Jenni anymore. It's not really her doing, but she's had enough aberrations in between the good performances for you to say, I don't know whether I can trust that we'll get the best you. I completely agree with Tony in that if the best her rocks up, she wins. But we haven't seen that for a little while, and her wins haven't been against the best. So my suspicion is that Antino will prove too strong. What are your thoughts?
Yep, I agree with you on that. The other two that I'm interested in are Faulkner Park. I think he's been actually going really well throughout this autumn preparation, and that's why they've been throwing him in the deep end in some of these tougher races, like the Randwick where he ran third in the Queen Elizabeth, and then the Hollandale. He was excellent on that occasion as well. So I want to throw Faulkner Park in. And the other one, and he is a little bit of a Queensland specialist and he's become an enigma, is our friend Kovalika.
Yes. Partially
because of the booking, because I know he was meant to ride another horse who's not in the field. So he's gotten, I'm guessing, pick of the Waller runners, and there's plenty of them, I think 4 in the Doomben Cup. And Kovalika, he ran third in the Hollandale. Could he win for the first time in 727 days?
He's run so many good races in those 727. And there's so many times you watch him and you say, oh, maybe it'll be next time. Maybe it'll be next time. And it hasn't been. And I did worry at the end of last prep that maybe that win wouldn't come. But I did have a very close look at Kovalika for Saturday, and it would not surprise me at all. Just all the stars need to align,
The
and
dry
one has.
deck is important.
Yeah.
That's the most important for him. And stepping up to the 2000 is important for him as well. Like anything under that, I think we've learnt now that let's get up over those trips.
I'm not convinced, by the way, in terms of the track. Remember when the track flipped in Sydney over the autumn? We had a rail off day followed by a hot rail day.
Yeah.
I think. Same track, a week apart. I don't think you can necessarily assume that what we've seen in the lead up is what we'll see on Saturday.
And then you mentioned Pride of Jenni. I agree. Her run last start in the listed race at Caulfield, she was really good. Like the time was really good, but she was beating up on inferior opposition. For her to step up again to Group 1 grade, and this is I think it's a good Group 1 for a Queensland 2,000 metre weight for age race. I don't think it's a poor edition of this race. She's still going to have to be at her best. Like, she's still going to have to climb that mountain again. And you're right, the aberrations have racked up since the spring and then the retirement and then the return. To get back to Group 1 winning status, it's going to take a bit.
Yeah, agreed.
The Roses is the preview race for the Oaks in a couple of weeks' time. And interestingly, only 3 fillies have ever done the Roses Oaks double in Ethereal, Scarlet Lady and Youngstar in 2018. So it takes a really good one to be able to do that. Where would you be headed that way?
I would typically be against that Australasian Oaks form, but that's kind of where I'm looking. That's where the market's looking as well. So you've got Benadryl and Polymnia coming out of that race. So we'll get to see them again on Saturday. That, for me, is the benchmark. When you're looking towards, I know that you're going to ask me, you want to ask about Full How? I mean, we've got a Super Maiden winner who's...
It was a good win in the Super Maiden, though.
Yeah, it was a good win in the Super Maiden. Third in Canterbury after that. 6th in a Golden Bracelet, beaten fairly comfortably over 18, I think, last start. So, it's probably the asterisk course where you go, I don't know everything. It's not the full picture, and maybe you will peak for an Oaks. But for me, I'll go with what I've seen, tried and true, and Benadryl, very tough to beat.
That's the form that likely will stand up. 2 more to throw in there. Yu Wang.
Yep.
For Chris Lees and Tommy Berry. And then Churchill's Choice for Nathan Doyle. Really interesting filly, stepping up to the 2,000 metres for the first time. She is a trier. She's very genuine. She's very honest. And stable's flying at the moment. One to throw in there just to, she's not the proven Group 1 performer, obviously.
We've seen the Lees camp have Group 1 success in recent years with a young filly. So,
did you catch the Preakness Stakes on Sunday morning and the unbelievable victory by Journalism?
You couldn't miss it.
It was the most...
Was it the Lonhro equivalent? So everyone talks about Lonhro getting off the camp, getting
the Australian Cup,
getting the check in the Australian Cup. Was it every bit as good and more?
I think so. Do you agree?
I agree. And I have that, like, in terms of horse toughness, like overcoming something and just going like, this is mine. Get out of my way.
He got checked, the champ. Like, oh, it's the best.
Yeah, it is. It was the best. I think it's been.
This is it's the American equivalent of that. If you haven't seen it, I mean, the big bump that Journalism, who was the short price favourite, he got done in the Kentucky Derby a few weeks before. And we're not international racing gurus, but my interest has definitely been sparked again by watching the Netflix series in Race to the Crown, which I know I've fallen into that trap, but I'm now really invested in the Triple Crown this year, more so than I ever have been, because you get to know a few of the other personnel, I guess. And that's, for me, racing is about those stories and those people.
And it usually dips if the winner of the first race doesn't win the second, which wasn't even an option this time around, skipping the second event. It usually dips going into the third because the Triple Crown's not available. But I feel as though the theatre of that race really just has... It was everything we needed and more.
So we head to the Belmont in 2 weeks' time, and hopefully you will get to see the winner of the Kentucky Derby and then the winner of the Preakness battle it out at Belmont. But like that for me now, heading to one of those Triple Crown races is bucket list stuff, as is many other race meetings around the world. But are there a few that you You're going to save your pretty pennies. You're going to hold off on the golf trips. You're going to reduce the cost of your upcoming nuptials to be able to go to some of these tracks in the future. What's on the list?
It depends. Is Maddie listening? Because I'm definitely not going to admit to that. No. Wedding is absolutely priority. But if it were not priority, am I sensing a top 5?
Let's do Benway's top 5 tracks you want to attend in the future.
I've got a list, but I haven't actually done my top 5, so I'll do it on the fly. The nominations are Shanti, Happy Valley, Birdsville.
I've been to Birdsville.
These are very different reasons. So that's a good bucket list tick.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there for Birdsville Cup Day. It's wild.
You would have been popular there. So Ascot and Cheltenham are definitely big events that I would love to go to. Broome, being 10 minutes from Cable Beach, it always looks like an amazing scene there. It might be a bit niche, but that's definitely one I would love to go to. Churchill Downs, Kentucky Derby, Longchamp would have to be right up there as well. And Everest, I think, is now getting into the equation. And a Melbourne Cup would probably have been that target for Europeans coming here.
That's a very good list.
Right, and the Dubai World Cup. Now, I'm going to scrap the Dubai World Cup because I think it's an amazing headline, but not
prize money.
Not necessarily a great event.
Experience.
We saw the crowd. It didn't. There in Saudi, it didn't look raucous. I should have added Japan.
Yes, because they are so into their racing that it's more you hopefully get swept up in their hysteria for the racing, and it's not like the over lubricated crowds in Australia.
No,
it's
very
more
different.
that they just really love their horses and they love their racing and they follow it. You know, they're all sitting in the stands with their guides and they're cheering for the results.
Well, I've loved racing a lifetime and worked in it nearly a decade, but I think I would go there as the least fanatical racing enthusiast because they are absolutely mad for it, which is great. Like, I've never gone and made little noddies of jockeys, and you
might.
Well, I might down the track. They've tried it. It doesn't work. Anyway, I'll go with.
So you're just going to leave one on top.
So I'll go with Birdsville at 5. I think as a Australian racing fan,
it's good.
It's got to be.
You're basically sitting in your fold-out chairs, in your jeans and your check shirts with your cowboy hat and a tinny.
Yeah. If I wasn't, that all sounds good to me. A tin of Scotch and Coke or Scotch and Cola though. So the Everest, I've been to several. So for me, it's not on the list, but I think it should be in the top couple.
100%.
For everyone.
I have said it over the last couple of years. It is my favourite race day in Australia.
So having been, it can't be in by default. You're fine with that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is my list.
It's yours.
It's my bucket list. So I've been.
It can't be wrong because
it's my list.
It's your list.
So pipe down, everyone. Okay, so from there, I haven't done Ascot. I don't know
Ascot's great too.
Do I care about top hats?
Yeah, but it's the pageantry, it's the majesty of it, it's the royal element, and everyone, looking it's a very different vibe to both of those other.
Okay, we'll put that in number 4. What a juxtaposition between Birdsville and Ascot so far. This is a good top 5.
The beauty of racing, though, right?
So I don't know why, but I really do want to go to Broome. But I guess that needs to fall out of the top 5 when you look at the other list. I'll put the Kentucky Derby or Derby in at 3.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah,
so Churchill Downs, I'll head to. So that leaves me Longchamp, Happy Valley. Okay, I'm going to go with one a little bit left field, and that's the beach racing in Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always watched it and thought it was amazing theatre. We've got similar racing at Rockingham, I think, in WA. They do a carnival once a year, which I would love to go to. So I'm happy to not spend the money to go to Europe and go to Rockingham instead. But I think it's Luton, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know how it's pronounced. But anyway, I'm going to throw that in as something really random at number 2.
And then number 1 on Ben Way's top 5 list of tracks he would like to venture to is...
Shanti. So Louis Henri de Bourbon, beautifully named. How can you not trust a man called Louis Henri de Bourbon? So he believed that he would be reincarnated as a horse. So he made it his purpose to build a horse heaven, thinking that he would come back and one day live there. And the stables are now called Musée Vivant du Cheval, which is Living Horse Museum. It's a castle stable. And it is, I've seen it so many times. I think they have a Group 2 there, the Grand Prix de Chantilly. The racing itself would be meh. But apparently the place is just elite. So if I could see one racetrack in my lifetime, I would pick Shanti just.
I reckon that's your best ever top 5.
I've left out Happy Valley and the Dubai World Cup
No, I'm happy for you to leave
and
that out.
Broome.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Any other glaring omissions?
Don't think so. Very well done.
Thank you.
If you have additions, get in touch with us via social media. We love getting bits and bobs into the mailbag. Feedback.
But
Yeah.
a reminder again.
You can't be wrong because it's Ben's list.
Thank you.
That's the rule of the list. It's Ben's. It cannot be wrong. You can have your own and submit it. We'd love to hear it. Speaking of which, we did get some feedback and some suggestions this week regarding Sir Delius and his big win in the Chairman's at Doomben on Saturday. Of course, an Entire by Franklin bought by the Waterhouse Bot team along with Sir Owen Glenn and a lot of other partners for $2.6 million in the hopes of getting him to a Caulfield Melbourne Cup. So he wins on the weekend. And I know the margin wasn't big, but for me, it was the win of the weekend, the way he was able to fight back when challenged. And I know it wasn't our top class stayers, but it was something to behold. So this listener has asked, the real deal or no deal? I like that as a
We
topic
can
going
keep
forward.
that going forward.
Real deal or no deal? For me, real deal. Big real deal. But
What does real deal mean? Does that mean $11 in a Caulfield Cup and $15 in a Melbourne
That's
Cup
what
is
I was-
justified?
that's what I was going to ask.
Well, I'm asking you. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not taking it,
But you're saying real deal.
but I think he can win both of those races.
Oh, come on.
Really? So Aliana, currently the $8 favourite for the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the Melbourne Cup, you got Vauban. And now we've seen Vauban do some good things. He's settled a little bit into his Australian way of life.
What's Via up to?
Via's also in there. Deacon are ahead of Sir Delius in the Melbourne Cup market, where he
Yeah.
sits at $15.
Okay, so in a Melbourne Cup market, let's say Arapaho, who I don't think can win a Melbourne Cup. Let's say Arapaho off the back of a Sydney Cup. Who's higher credentialed in your opinion, or more likely, Sir Delius or Arapaho?
Arapaho probably.
Well, one's 26 and one's 50.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not taking
The
$7
overcorrection's
bucks.
ridiculous.
Well, that's just what the punters want, though.
So
They like
I'm-
what they saw. Real deal.
So I feel like I've watched this movie before with Faulkner Park.
We see these Brisbane performances and we go, hello. Let's
Yeah,
get real excited.
We do, like Goldman through the provincials, like off the back of a provincial win in New South Wales. Is suddenly like, I think equal favourite. White Marlin and Goldman were equal favourites. And by the time the race gets around, so I'll say, loved the win. Very promising horse. Could one day win a decent race. Doing the double? Was that the claim?
Well, Without a Fight won a Q22 and then did the double not too long
Well,
after.
Nice Joyce ran second in a Q22 and then won a Melbourne Cup.
So you're saying maybe the Q22 form is the where we need to be at in a week?
This sounds like that movie. I'm not. So you're saying there's a chance. There's a chance, but unlikely. I will say, what was the topic?
Real deal or no deal?
No deal. No deal for $11 and $15. That's laughable.
All right. Any other futures you want to play? So the Oaks, we've talked about the fact that we think that the Australasian Oaks in South Australia a couple of weeks ago will be the ultimate form reference into the Roses this weekend and then going forward into the Queensland Oaks as well. Would you like to play anything in Oaks markets?
No, not really, because I'm keen on the heavy ones in the market.
Stradbroke?
Stradbroke, I could. Your mate Kamachi's there. War
Mate
Machine.
Kamachi, she's
I-
still going.
I think we're a bit disrespectful of the run of Payline the other day. It's still sitting there around the $15 mark, was considerably longer than that.
You're going to get longer than that on race day, I think.
Because if the real Jolie Star and Benedettas rock up, they're the ones to beat. You know, they are going to be tough. I'd always take on Basusto, but there has been a firm there. Tats Tiara, I haven't had too much of a look as yet. It's early stages, but the JJ Atkins was the race that I reckon you could look at that for 5 hours and just get more confused the longer you stare. It's $8 the field at the moment.
4 at the top of the market. So Aerodrome, Gallo Nero, who was huge last weekend, first up after a long break
High vol, that's the
from
the
Victoria.
microphone. Yeah. So unbeaten over 2 runs over 1,400, but you and I are both sort of like, so your mile next and how good were the horses that you beat? And then you've got Grafter Burners who comes out of the same race as Gallinero. So If I had to hang my hat on one thing, I would say I think Benedetta will run a ripper in the Stradbroke.
So in the end, you're not even going to pick one for the JJ?
I just told you, it's the worst, it's the most impossible race.
Well, last year, I mean, yeah, we've had some pretty superior winners of it, haven't we?
Okay, you make it. Oh, do I have to pick one? I'll pick. I think Aerodrome is probably a touch on the short side, so I'll go with Gallinero.
Yeah, I'm probably with you there. I think Aerodrome's 2 wins have been really good, but Gallo Nero is the proven stakes performer to this point in time. And what I saw last weekend got me excited for what the rest of his preparation has in store.
It's the sort of race where I like seeing like a late arriving 2-year-old that, has always been targeted at the JJ, and I just don't feel we kind of have that. The horse that probably ticks that box is United States, but I just don't believe that.
I don't think he likes the wet ground.
I don't know that he's just good.
Yeah.
Full stop. But let's not forget, Gallinero ran around in December.
Yeah. He's been up and then a little break and then back in at it. But you're right, like broadsiding when we saw him win a JJ, it had been quite a targeted plan for a campaign.
Approach, yeah.
Okay, before we go, the vote on Tuesday, the extraordinary general meeting is happening to discuss and eventually decide what will happen with the potential sale of Rosehill Gardens. We won't delve into the for and against case again.
No.
But you've got a favourite Rosehill moment in case we have to bid adieu to it?
Nearly every slipper. Yeah. I mean, there is great history there, and I think the sentiment is going to be that's going to push the nose is the sentiment, but
the history and
the
connection
and the emotional connection to it, and I think we'll see a bit of an age divide too in the votes.
I have no doubt about that.
If they were to break them down, I think you will see the 40-50 down will be primarily a yes, and the 50 plus will be primarily no. And there's no right or wrong there. There's reasons one is more attached than the other.
100%.
I'm glad they delayed it. We pushed for that. Clearly they listened to the So We Think podcast. But I was very confident it would come back as a no vote if they'd held it at the original 2 months ago, and I think we're 50-50 now.
Yeah, I agree. The document, have you sunk your teeth into that one?
Yeah, they needed more detail, and they provided it.
Yeah.
I do think the incentives were a little... they were a bit, how you doing? But I don't think they'll sway anyone. I thought of some free drinks or free food.
You never know.
Do you? Or maybe.
It's good to be back, isn't it?
It is.
It's good
so
to be
much
back.
To discuss.
So much to sink our teeth into. Hey, enjoy the racing at Doomben this weekend for Doomben Cup Day. We're going to be with you over the next month or so. We love this carnival up in Queensland. You're so right, as we spoke to Tony Golan about, getting up there, sun on the back, enjoying quality racing. Everyone's just got this vibe about them.
Can I just say, I'm actually hosting in Sydney Saturday.
Well, bad luck for some.
No, I love it. Have we got a good meeting? 10 races, early start, out of there by 4:30.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow,
Don't panic. Still got some good jocks, good horses. Lots to see. All on the screens of Sky Thoroughbred Central. Catch you there.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on So We Think.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.